All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel and happy Friday to everyone out there. It is January 5th and we have a plethora of NBA games to dive into in today's video. Like we always do, we're gonna go through each and every one of these games. We'll talk about the games. I'll give you my lean on the spread. I'll give you my lean on the total. We'll talk about any other plays like player props that we like in the game, but all of my final plays will be in the pinned comment, what I'm actually rolling with myself. If you do want to fade those picks and you do want to tell me that my picks stink, go ahead and do the opposite. Those are going to be in the pinned comment. Last night, a 1-1 night, not going to kill us, nothing to get excited about here either, obviously. We took the under 34.5 in for Giannis's points. Now, I don't regret this pick because one, we got it early in the morning at plus 100, and two, by game time, his line was down to 31.5, so clearly on the right side of that in terms of data and lines and value, but clearly on the wrong side in betting against one of the best NBA players in the league right now. You know what I mean? Like I even said in the video, I was like, am I that crazy to bet against one of the biggest superstars in the league? Maybe. Clearly I am. But under 34.5 points, that does not cash. If that game, stays, if that game doesn't stay close, maybe he doesn't. But, this industry ain't about maybes, right? It's an L. Chris Paul under 21.5 PRA is pretty comfortable with that. We cashed that one, so we deserved the ching there. Pretty easy one there. Again, I think he finished at 19, but it never really felt like he was in the groove to get to 22. So I like that spot. I wish we went with a couple more leans that we had in that game, obviously, just because, we kind of, I guess we saw that game fairly well. But nonetheless, 1-1 night, guys. Got a ton of opportunity tonight. We're not going to force anything. We're not going to get overly excited because it's a big slate, but we should be able to come up with a few decent final plays here. In terms of our ride of the day, we got to drop the womp womp. And it pains me to do it because this looked like such a lock at, say halftime. He had 3 rebounds early, but Mike threw out hashtag ride of the day. Jonathan Kuminga over 4.5 rebounds. Kuminga finishes with 4, I believe, so just shy, which is tough because it came down to minutes. He was playing a decent amount of minutes in the first half, actually even up until I would say, mid-third quarter, right? And he finishes with 19 minutes, so didn't get the fourth quarter run, needed 1 more rebound to cash. It was a good spot, a good look. Just came up short. So if you guys want a chance to be the ride of the day just like Mike was today, all you got to use is hashtag ride of the day. Use that hashtag ride of the day in the comments. Give me an absolute banger of a pick, and I'm picking one person, jumping on board with that person and giving you a shout out in the next video, win or loss. Let's get some dubs there because we've had some more losses as of late, and we've got a few different comments or a few different people commenting this, so I think we might try it out. Let me know what you guys think of this in the comments. Should we do a ride of the day where if someone wins, they get to go the next day, assuming they see the next video and comment, because I'll keep my eye out for that. So it won't be perfect, but say Mike had hit this, I'll keep my eye out in the comments and Mike gets to roll again until he loses. I think that could be pretty cool. We've got tons of comments in the last couple weeks of that. So let me know in the comments if you like to make it simple, do you like the new ride of the day strategy or structure where, the person gets to keep going? Say, new ride of the day structure, yes or no, just to make it simple. But yeah, love the thoughts on that. But let's go ahead and jump into today's slate, guys. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, buckle up. We have a long NBA slate to dive into, which means it's probably going to be a longer video, but we'll try and get through it in a manageable amount of time. We got the Pacers taking on the Hawks here, starting us off. Pacers right now minus 3.5 at home. And the total sitting at, it seems like it's a comical number, but it really isn't, right? Like these two teams are fast-paced and don't play much defense. Total sitting at 263. So first and foremost, I think you guys probably, if you watch every day, know where I'm going with this. I like same-game parlay potential in this game, so keep an eye on the pinned comment. We'll post that as a YouTube short, and also on my TikTok, at EvPicks, picks with 2 Z's. We'll post that over there if we do end up rolling with it, and then we'll post the link in the final plays as well, because there's so much offensive opportunity, right? 263, what a crazy total. So that's probably my favorite spot in this game. Second favorite spot is going to be Pacers minus 3.5. Like there's not much for two teams that play at a fast pace and don't score, don't prevent the other team from scoring. There's not much that Atlanta does better than the Pacers here. Maybe you could say that they're a slightly better rebounding team, offensive rebound. Like there isn't really all that much that you can hang your hat on as the Hawks in this spot. The one thing the Hawks have going for them that I can admit is they're on the road, and this is a Hawks team that is better on the road than at home this year, which is crazy to think about now. They did just have a nice home win as underdogs against OKC last game, so maybe that's some momentum. But yeah, I'll take the Pacers in this one, minus the 3.5 points. And like I said, the total, you're kind of silly to take the under because of how fast these two teams are, but I feel kind of silly taking the over as well because it is such a high number. So what we'll do to manipulate that total, or what we'll do to have that total impact to play, is probably roll the same game parlay, because like I said, a lot of opportunity in that game. And then even from a player prop perspective, like, it's going to be hard to convince me to take any unders or not like any overs. Like, 263 is a hell of a lot of points. So I don't mind any player props in this game as long as, you know, the guys are trending and they have a good matchup. All right, next up, we have the Celtics taking on the Jazz. Celtics, huge favorites in this game. Makes sense. It does make sense. They are coming off a loss to OKC. They're 4-2 against the spread this year, coming off of a loss, and they're at home, in which they're yet to lose a game at home. In terms of against the spread, they're 10-6 at home as well, so still pretty damn good there. 8-2 in their last 10. Again, one of those losses coming to OKC, who's proving to be one of the better teams, obviously, in the league, right? So I think I lean towards the Celtics minus the 14. Does that make its way into the final plays? It's too big of a number for me, and I'm a huge Celtics fan, but it's too big of a number for me to really be like, yeah, rah, let's go. Because the Celtics can win this game. And this is how I always think of these big spreads, right? I said it last night with even the Bucks and the Spurs. It's like, yeah, I like the Spurs, or I like the Bucks to win the game, but 9.5 maybe too much delay. Wish we made that a final play, right? But we're kind of on the fence there. But for the Celtics here, it's like they could win by 12 points and be like, yeah, we just crushed Utah. So it's like that splitting hairs at 14-12 and getting in those high numbers, it kind of just turns me off a little bit here. But Utah is terrible on the road. They are, I think we've seen that. They're 5-14 on the road this season. And then in terms of against the spread on the road, 8-11, which, you know, isn't all that terrible, I guess. But again, you know, 5-4 straight up on the road, really bad. Whereas they're a decent team at home. Like, this Utah team's been playing good basketball, when at home. Like, they've won 3 straight games, all at home. One of those Detroit as well. They did kind of kick it into gear once they got healthy. So they had a 5-game or either 4 or 5-game road stretch, and they won 3 games prior to this home stretch, right? So maybe I'm talking with a foot in my ass here, you know, both sides of my mouth, because Utah's getting better now that they're healthy and whatnot. But still, I'm going to use the data that we have and what we've actually seen and the facts that we have to say that they're not that great on the road. Maybe they're getting better. Maybe they will be good now that they're healthy. But still, in this instance, I need to see it before I bet it. Give me the Celtics minus the points. Again, slight lean there. Total sitting at 239. It seems like it's up there, doesn't it? But it doesn't really seem like the Celtics should have trouble scoring against this team. You know, they definitely get to the foul line more than this team, plenty. In terms of 3-point percentage, they shoot and make more threes than this Utah team, and I just think that they should be able to, you know, kind of carve through it like butter. So I'm hoping that the Celtics can kind of lead the way here and drop their standard, you know, 120 plus, meaning that I think Utah can kind of carry a little bit of weight here. But if the Celtics go for 125 to 130, then this should be an over. I don't see much defense on Utah's side of things. My concern is that if Utah doesn't show up offensively and Boston dominates defensively, would it have been better to look at the Celtics like 130 plus team total? We'll consider all that, so keep an eye on the pinned comment. Now, in terms of player props in this game, I like the Celtics side of things. I'm not really a fan of what we're seeing from the Jazz. I do think the Celtics kind of come out and say, okay, we're back at home, let's lock up. We had a bad defensive game against OKC. It's time to lock up. So I like Celtics spots in this one. You could look at, you know, Derek White, who's been on absolute fire. You could even look at Porzingis, who may be playing a little bit more with Al Horford questionable. Those are probably 2 guys that I target here. Maybe Jaylen Brown, because Jaylen Brown, you know, ultimately a big part of that game in OKC, but for the most part had a pretty bad game. So maybe he bounces back. He shot 18 times, made 4. So maybe he has a bounce back spot as well. But yeah, I don't mind any spots really here for when it comes to Utah defensively. So yeah, I don't mind Celtics player props. All right, guys, before we get to the rest of the slate, let me talk to you about the Daily Grind Fantasy tool, and specifically the Daily Grind Fantasy Optimizer. What this does, and I'll just show you, actually, we can jump in. What this does is compares sportsbooks lines to prize picks lines and everything in between, right? You could see all of the sportsbooks and the lines that they are offering compared to what prize picks has going on out here, and then they give you a % chance to hit based on all of that. You can filter sport, team, stat type, over, under, and get slips built for you. Like if we wanted to look at a prize pick 6 6-man slip. These are all picks that plus EV wise are viable for that spot. So you have 7 to choose from. This tool is absolutely on fire. I hit a 6 for 6 NHL slip, a week ago or so, right? That's going to be paying for itself for a while. 200 or 220 bucks to win 500 bucks using this tool. So make sure to go check it out, guys. I talk about them plenty. You can get 25% off if you use the code GUYBOSTON. You got to use the code though, GUYBOSTON. Spelling Bee Champ. When you go over to the link in the pinned comment, you get 25% off. Seriously, guys, I use this tool all the time, especially for all of my prize pick slips. If you have a Taco Tuesday or promotion, you head right over here. Boom. What's the top pick? Let's pair it with it. They also have Sleeper, Jock Market, Underdog, Parlay Play, boom, Better. They have all the apps out here, guys. So make sure to go check it out. Again, 25% off. Go take advantage of that. If it's not just for 1 month, I think you'll stick around, but go take advantage of that for sure. Daily Grind Fantasy, guys. DGFantasy.com. Use code GUYBOSTON. Now let's go ahead and jump back into the rest of the slate because we got a lot of games to talk about. This Cavs and Wizards game really doesn't entertain me all that much. We just saw what this, I guess, the teams could do against one another. Cleveland undoubtedly is the better team here. 10 points is too much for me to really consider because I do think that, as good as Cleveland is, as much as they beat them by nearly 40 points last time they played, there's been inconsistencies with this Cleveland team this year and as of late. So I'm going to lean Cleveland. Don't think it makes its way into the final plays. And even the total here at 240 seems like too sharp of a number for me. If you had a gun to my head and you're like, make a damn pick, you guppy, I would lean towards the overage because I think there's going to be a lack of defense on both sides. Like, yes, Cleveland's defense looked good against Washington there, but this is not like a Cleveland defense that we're used to seeing. They're making their way there. They're making their way downtown, but I still want to see a little bit more from this Cleveland defense before it's like, shut down a team entirely. Now, they held them to 101. Fair enough, but I'm going to lean towards, the overage because I don't think that defense is fully firing on all cylinders yet. All right, Sixers taking on the Knicks. This is a weird one because it should be a really good game, but the books come in with a pretty big number there, to be completely honest, at -6.5 for the Sixers. Now, this opened up at 6. It's moved to 6.5, so it's not like, books are bouncing back and forth here. They do think the Sixers are should be the favored team by 6.5 points, but to me, it's a little like, I think the Knicks are at least within that range. They've had a couple quality wins in a row now, albeit they were at home, in which they're a way better home team this year than last year. 10-4 at home, 9-11 on the road going against the Sixers, who the Sixers are one of the better home teams, right, in the league. So maybe that's where they're getting at. I still like the Sixers, but... And I feel like I've split hairs with a lot of games today, guys. But again, we have so many to choose from. We don't need to force anything. I get permission to speak transparently, right? I do think that the Sixers game could come down to like a 4 or 5 point game, which unfortunately is just outside of that 6.5. So I guess I reluctantly lean spread-wise to the Knicks. I like Sixers on the money line, and I also like the total. We've seen Philadelphia in these big games kind of show up offensively. Last couple games have been tough, and last game they owe us. If you missed last game, we had the over in the game, and we had their over 116.5 for their team total. 8 minutes to go in the game, they had 110. I was like, what a call. Pat yourself on the damn back, Ev. They didn't score a single point for the rest of the game and finished at 110. Huh? So they owe us something here. I like the over in this game as well. Now, in terms of a player prop, we just got caught with our pants down doing this last night, but I don't really mind Joel Embiid's unders here. I think that if there's anything the Knicks are going to do, they're going to throw bodies and play Embiid very, very physically. Now, if you could find, not all books offer it, but a free throw attempts number for Embiid, I also like that as well. This is a Knicks team that allows, a decent amount of foul shots to their opponents, but we know the Sixers can get to the line plenty. So I think that could be a fairly valuable play there as well. So make sure to keep an eye on the pinned comment. Another spot that I don't mind, and I think it might be a play that we continue to go and look at, is going to be OG Anunoby here, over 1.5 assists. Again, new team still, and he's already hit this in 9 of his last 10. He hit it last game with the Knicks. I think that as he still figures himself out, he's going to be more, not pass first, but more willing to pass right away versus trying to take a guy off the dribble and whatnot, which isn't his game altogether. So I like his looks as well. All right, Brooklyn taking on OKC. I'll admit we should just be in like auto fade Brooklyn mode, but this could be a nice little spot for them had the Thunder not lost last game, because had the Thunder come into this, they would have won 9 of their last 10. They would have won 7 or 6 straight coming into Brooklyn now, and Brooklyn would have lost so many on the road, and now it's like, all right, finally we're home, take a deep breath. But the Thunder lost, and I don't think the Thunder lose 2 in a row here, so I think that they come to play for sure. So give me OKC minus the points here. 5.5 is a lot, but you know, when you compare these two teams' talents, like, this OKC team is far and away better than the Nets, and that number isn't like outrageous. You know what I mean? I guess remember what I said. Like, this would have been like, if OKC won their last game and all numbers were the same, I actually would be looking at Brooklyn, as psycho as that is. But OKC lost, so that's like kind of the big thing here. But obviously this OKC team, doesn't matter if they're on the road or playing from home, they're a good against the spread team and just a good team overall. So I'll go ahead and take them. In terms of the total, this is where I could be stubbing my toe here. I see 235.5 on most sportsbooks. I know the graphic has 234.5. I'm gonna look at the under here. I think that this finishes in the low 230s. I think, you know, Brooklyn, I don't think that they're going to have the best offensive performance. They really haven't been. 104, 108, 85, 101 in their last 4 here, right? So, and they just played OKC, which this total finished at, what was it, 232? So kind of think it's the same type of spot. Now, that was in OKC, but nonetheless, that is what I'm going to be looking at here. OKC, when it comes to points on the road, averaging 118, which obviously is a little bit less than, I guess, their overall average, which is when they're at home here. I have it up in my notes. When they're at home, they're averaging almost 120. So it's like slightly less points per game when they're on the road, slightly, but still less. So I'll take the under here as well, but probably OKC being my favorite spot in this game, obviously. In terms of player props, not much jumped off the page to me here. I do think a Cam Johnson could be a good look for similar reasons as to why Jalen Johnson was successful against the Thunder the other night, right? Jalen Johnson had a career night. Cam Johnson being that same position and being, I could guess we could say, similar size. If he gets out in transition and the Nets were to run, I think that this could be a decent spot for him to have like a decent game here. So I'd look at his probably points plus assists, points plus rebounds, and then maybe his PRA line as well. And for what it's worth, he's hit that in 4 of his last 5. Last time he played OKC, which was, again, just about a week ago, he finished at 19 PRA. Points plus rebounds, he finished at 19 there too, so AKA no assists. So maybe points plus rebounds could be the look. But I don't mind Cam Johnson just because of what we thought about Jalen Johnson going into that game, what we talked about, and then how Jalen Johnson even exceeded what I thought he was going to do. Kind of gives me a little Cam Johnson good game vibes here. Next up, we have what will be a really good game, and you could say like a month and a half ago, maybe you'd think it wouldn't be the best of games, but two teams that are red hot. You got the Clippers, who are Clippers could be, I'll sound the psycho alarm for saying this. Could be, if they stay healthy, a championship dark horse. That starting 5 is a crazy good team, or crazy good 5 when they play together. And the Pelicans, like, though they've kind of had their ups and downs, also trending in a very good direction here. Both teams have won, I believe, 4 straight. New Orleans has covered 3 straight, as have the Clippers, so they're kind of meeting at the crossroads here, which I'm like, I don't really know who to pick. So I like the Clippers just because, again, I believe in that starting 5 over the Pelicans starting 5, but this is a game in which if you want to make an argument for the Pelicans, I'm not going to be trying too hard to talk you off of it, because I think this is going to be a very good game. So yeah, give me the Clippers ever so slightly, probably on the money line. This is essentially a pick 'em, right? But in terms of a total, I think that this could be sort of a game in which maybe it doesn't have the fastest of pace, but we could see some buckets in this game. So I like this game to get to, you know, the high 230s. So give me the over in this spot as well. Again, I'm not telling you that it's going to be high pace, but I think these offenses are looking fairly good as of late. The caveat and little asterisk there is that so are the defenses. So hopefully the offense on both sides, you know, again, defense make it tough. We're not running gunning over here, but we're getting some good buckets. Now, player prop that I also like in this spot, and we can flash over to Outlier here, guys. Guys, I have a link for Outlier in the pinned comment. 7 days free for this tool. But look at Brandon Ingram, sneaky, a little Clippers killer over here. He's only missed this in 1 of his last 8 games against them. Hit it in 4 straight and had 39 points, rebounds, and assists against them here in his last game, which was on the November 21st. 24th game. Points, it looks just the same for his last 2 games. He's gone 30 plus in 4 straight games against them. So could be some, Brandon Ingram vibes tonight here in terms of, if you want to look at it from a points or PRA or points plus whatever. Like, I think that could be a decent spot here. It's one position that we talk about the Pelicans being good defensively. It's one position, the Clippers being good defensively. It's one position that the Clippers don't, lock up that much, allowing the 6th most points to the shooting guard position, even though he's truly a small forward playing shooting guard, right? Over the year, again, 6th most points. So I don't mind that spot for him either. Could be a good look there. And again, guys, that is Outlier. I could just show you a couple more things that Outlier does. Really, really cool tool. We have this filtered to the player props on this game. You could see all of their trends and dig into them like we just did with Brandon Ingram here, right? Look at his last 5, last 10, last 20 head-to-head. Look at his minutes, free throws, all that stuff. See injuries in the games, insights that they give you, right? Kind of trends that are in this game. You can also do this all from a game perspective, too, if you want to see the money here. So on the spread, looks like the percent of money is disagreeing with what I think. 98% of the money is on the Pelicans here, though the Clippers have the majority of the money on the money line. All really cool stuff to note, so go check out Outlier, guys. Again, that link is in the pinned comment. You get 7 days free. Why not try it for 7 days free? Kind of a no-brainer, right? Let's go ahead and move on to the rest of the slate. It's gonna be a long video, I think. We got the Bulls taking on the Hornets, and I say this will be a long video, but this won't be a long game explanation. Give me the Bulls here, coming off of that game against the Knicks. Though they kind of were competitive there, they lose by 16. The Bulls had been playing good basketball, and now they're kind of in like, oh man, we keep getting caught up. But they've played some tough teams. In their last 3, they've played Philly twice. No Embiid, but still Philly twice, and they played the Knicks. Like, this Bulls team has had a go of it. Finally, they have a home game here where they can go, woosah, and play the Charlotte Hornets, who are just, Charlotte Hornets coming off of that win against Sacramento. I don't think that they pull it upset like that 2 games in a row, especially on the road, right? So give me the Bulls in this spot. Total sitting at 224. This could be a spot in which I take a peek at Bulls in terms of their team total, because I can trust them a little bit more than I can Charlotte. This Hornets team looks like Brandon Miller's on the injury report, as we know. LaMelo, Gordon Hayward out. Same thing with Williams. So there's a lot kind of going on with this team that drives inconsistency. So I'll look at the team total for the Bulls over in this spot. All right, Rockets taking on Minnesota in what should be another good game. But again, we have so many games on the slate today. It's like, yeah, no kidding, we're going to have some good matchups here. In terms of my pick from this spot, I like the Rockets at home. I think they're a really good team at home, but you could convince me of Minnesota. So this is sort of like a meh type of a lean, right? But I do like what the Rockets have done at home this season. And Minnesota, though they're still a good road team, a lot different than they are on or at home, right? So them on the road here, I don't totally love. Their last road game, they lose to New York, and then they lost to New Orleans, but I'm actually going to cut them some slack for that one. Like, New Orleans is playing good basketball, so I don't really want to, give them too much heat for that, but they've lost 3 of their last 5 home games outright here. And Houston, again, at home, playing good basketball, but they haven't played a good team in a while, or in 2 games. They went from Detroit to Brooklyn at home and then, knocked them both up. Pause. But I do think that this could be another Houston spot. But again, I don't think this makes its way into the final place, because you could easily convince me why Minnesota would win this game. A pick that I like, and you guys may hate it. You guys may hate it because it cost us the other night. Alfie Sengun, okay? He had 3 assists in the first 5 minutes of the game last game, and then all of a sudden ends with 4. We needed over 4.5. But look at this. Last game, he had 12 potential assists. 12 potential assists. I'm riding this one again. Give me Alfie Sengun over 4.5 assists. It could be crazy, but there's some value on it today. -105. He already burned us once. If he burns us again, we probably don't touch this stat for the rest of the year with him, but I don't mind it. Now, in terms of a total, looking at 216, right? Or 218, excuse me. Little bit too low. Even if these teams have a good defensive game, it's like Houston could hold Minnesota to 113 and score, 116, and it's like, oh, that's 229, right? So like they could have, you could even make more of a, make it more of a crazy thing. It could be a 212 to 08 or 112 to 108 game, and it's like, okay, like now we're still at the over. So I think there's too many ways to get to the 220 mark with these two teams, because though their defenses are so good, they do have offensive talent. So I'll lean towards the over 228, 218. I can't even say this total. 218.5 in this one. All right, Dallas hosting Portland. We've already seen this matchup 3 times this season. Dallas has covered in each of those spots. So, yeah, I do think that this is another Dallas spot here. I think they're just way better than Portland. And again, I keep telling you that Portland's a good perimeter defensive team, but this is a really good perimeter offensive team with Dallas, right? So it's like they counter that entirely. I'll lay the points here. It's not my most confident bet on the board, but it really isn't my least either. Like, this isn't one of the ones that we were talking about where I'm like, it's too big of a number. Like, if Dallas gets cooking, I think that they could roll. The one thing I'll say is that Portland is getting healthier. Now, they don't have DeAndre Ayton, and when Dallas has like a big man advantage, it's crazy because all of a sudden they go from being one of the best backcourts in the NBA to, whoa, now we have one of the best backcourts in the entire league, and we somehow have an advantage down low. They turn into a good ball club, right? So I do think that, you could be like, well, Portland's becoming healthy. It's like, yeah, they're still Portland though. So I'll take Dallas here minus the points. Total sitting at 237. It's a big number. I don't think it gets there. I think that we see games, some of these games that we've seen, I guess you could say, like last game was 126-97, right? Then we saw 2 games ago, I believe, or was the last game. One of the games that they played was right on this number at 125-112. But again, Dallas, I think that, they're going to give you that 125. I don't know if we could trust Portland to pull their weight in this spot. No major player props that I like in this spot. I guess you could, if you get Lively to play, he is game time decision right now. I could see him having some opportunity, maybe a Luka points number, just because Luka's been, so good against this team this season overall. But yeah, I think we'll probably pass on most player props in this spot. All right, Denver taking on Orlando. This seems like it's way too many points. Now, I know Orlando hasn't been playing the basketball that, they were playing. Like, they were a very good team, but now they've just won 3 of their last 10. So maybe they're kind of falling into that trap, but this is their last road game before they head home for a couple games here. Maybe they kind of close this one up really well. So plus 10.5, Orlando's going to be my lean. Do I think Denver wins this game? Probably and most likely. I think that they're obviously the better team, but Denver is on the back-to-back here, and they were in a game last night that kind of went back and forth, you know what I mean? So it's not like they had an easy, like, rest the starters type spot, and they're already a team that's negative against the spread, 3-5 on back-to-backs this year. So this could be a spot in which it's like, whoa, maybe Oklahoma, or excuse me, Orlando actually even gets them. Like, listen to these minutes. 38 from Jokic, 35 from Gordon, 35 from Pope, 30 from Michael Porter Jr., and 32 from Jamal Murray. Like, these guys played last night. They played minutes, and Orlando's coming off of, obviously, a few losses here in a row where they could be a little, like, angry. They covered the number against Phoenix, so they're 3 straight losses, but have covered in 2 of those 3. Little weary to lay that many points. The one thing I'll throw in there, right, that I guess makes a lot of sense is that this is a spread that Vegas isn't really budging from. They set it at 10.5. It's now 10. So yes, it's moving in a direction here, but then it's bounced back up to 10.5. Like Vegas is like, all right, hey, think we're silly. Go ahead, bet Orlando. So like, could this be a trap for that many points? Perhaps, because Orlando's not playing good basketball. Total sitting at 224 here. Denver in back-to-backs, I really don't mind their I guess, totals here, because they do, when they're on back-to-backs here, play a little bit more fast-paced. I guess their defense lacks a little bit. 224 seems a little bit low. It's a slight lean towards the over for me. All right, Suns taking on the Heat. So this one was one that I kind of went in with the same, I guess, mindset that I had when I was looking at the Lakers and Heat game, right? And I was like, Lakers at home, like, good spot. And then the Heat say, yeah, well, we'll just win by 14 points. I could see that being a very similar type of a spot here. Now, still no Jimmy Butler, but no Kevin Durant, most likely for the Suns. He's listed as questionable on some sites and as out on others, so I don't really know what to make this early in the morning. So keep an eye on that. If Durant plays, I don't mind the Suns, okay? If Durant doesn't play, I think the Heat kind of keep their thing rolling here. But again, it's going to come down to the Durant injury, but I started to look at this just like the Lakers game that Miami played, and I was like, hey, pump the brakes, Ev. We kind of saw this before, right? Miami on the West Coast, it's going to be tough, blah, blah, blah. No, like, if Durant doesn't play, I like Miami. If Durant does play, I probably lean more towards Phoenix and the points. But we'll see where that injury report comes out to be. Now, the total sitting at 229.5. I think a lot of people are going to think that this is a spot in which, well, Miami, held the Lakers to under 100, but their defense hadn't been like a world-beating defense as of late, right? In their last 3 games here, they're allowing over 110, which should be, a good floor for this. And Phoenix is a decent offense in their last 3 year, averaging 114, and at home this year they're averaging 117. So you got to think that that 110 bumps a little bit, even if it's kind of somewhere in between, you know, right around 2 or 115 or so. That's more than enough to get this total going, especially if I think Miami ends up potentially winning the game, right? So I'll slightly lean towards the over. And if Durant's back, again, I like Phoenix to score points when they win games, score a decent amount of points. So again, Durant plays, I think it's game changing, literally kind of flips my pick. All right, next up, we have Sacramento hosting Toronto. You got to imagine Sacramento has a little bit of fire under their ass, right? Like, if they don't, then yikes, that team is doomed, because this should be a spot in which they are, like, kicking themselves for that loss against Charlotte. And we saw them kind of come out guns a-blazing against Orlando, but they still almost lost that game. So you got to imagine, like I said, they are kicking themselves, and they're like, can we show that we're a damn good team for once? You know what I mean? Like, losing to Charlotte as, 16-point favorites? And then they were, I think, 6+ point favorites against Orlando, right? And they only win that game by 3 in a barn-burning game. Like, yes, they get the win, and I'm sure that that's all they care about, but they got to understand that they should have won that game by a lot more. So they have 2 bad games in a row now, albeit one of them to win again. Now they're facing Toronto here at home. Toronto, not a very good road team. What I will say is Toronto didn't look all that bad. Didn't look all that bad against Memphis a couple nights back, but hopefully Sacramento, in terms of this lean, is way better than Memphis at home. Give me Sacramento minus the points here, because I think they have a little fire under their ass. I also like a player prop, Harrison Barnes over 12.5 points plus rebounds here. This Toronto team, we know Harrison Barnes is going to grind and sometimes get physical for rebounds, right? That's great. He's averaging, I believe it's just over 7 rebound chances per game in his last 10 games here. So if he gets, say, you know, go half that, right? Say he gets 3 or 4 rebounds, his line for points plus rebounds is 12.5. We really only need Harrison Barnes to have an average offensive game, which this is a Toronto team that struggles to cover his position, the small forward. So I like that spot for him. Doesn't make its way into the final plays. Like, we're betting on Harrison Barnes that doesn't always get involved anyways, right? Like, he'll have games in which he shoots 9 times, then 3 times, 10 times, then 2 times. So, little weary here, I will say. He's played against Toronto in the last 4 games here. He shot 9, 9, 8, and 7. But we're dating back to 2021 there too. So these two, he doesn't have that much, head-to-head experience there. In terms of the total, I do think that Sacramento comes out guns blazing. So I'm going to lean towards the over 239 here. I think that they probably score 125 plus as well. So I'm going to lean towards the over, because again, I'm putting a lot of weight into Sacramento at home in a spot in which, though many people will be like, oh, they don't have to bounce back after a win. They almost lost that game against Orlando. Okay, so this should be a spot in which they want to finally convince people, hey, we're a good team. All right, so Detroit last game. They're playing the Warriors tonight, but Detroit last game. If you guys don't know, I'll take a second to say this on Twitter. Make sure to follow me at FGuyBoston. It's also where we're posting the ride of the day. I'm following everyone back as of late. On Twitter, we've been taking, I've been letting you guys know that we're taking Pistons money line, Pistons spread, and Pistons team total, and the results were up like 3 units so far through 3 games. So they're doing the damn thing right now, making games close. Do I think that they keep it close with Golden State? Probably not. Golden State beat them by, I think it was 11 earlier in the year, double digits at least. So they probably do something similar like that today. I'm not going to be laying the points with Golden State on the back-to-back here, but again, like I already got the little challenge going on Twitter with the Pistons. I don't need to be backing them for the YouTube plays either, right? So probably sticking away from this game altogether. The total sitting at 241 seems a bit high to me. Like, I could see this being in the high 230s, but not breaching that 240 mark. So I'll lean towards the under. In terms of player props, Golden State on a back-to-back. Detroit, really nothing consistent there, other than, Cade. So I'm going to stick away in bogey. I'm going to stick away from player props here too. All right, Lakers taking on the Grizz. I like the Lakers in the spot, though Miami just kind of cleaned them up at home, and it was surprising to me. This is still a Lakers team that has been very good at home. Now, since the play-in tournament, they've kind of struggled, but they haven't had all that many home games. They've been playing a lot of road games. So give me them at home here, minus the 4.5 points. Total sitting at 227. Slightest lean towards the under. I think this game finishes around 225, so kind of puts it into perspective how much of an under I think that this could be. So not too much of a spot there in which I'm willing to go out there and really risk it all, but I do think that this is an under-esque type of a game. In terms of a spot here, I really don't mind taking a peek at Anthony Davis. Jaren Jackson Jr., good player, but I think he could get Anthony Davis to the foul line a few times here. I'm assuming that's going to be sort of the matchup that he draws, even though, Tillman's technically the starting center. I do think Jackson's going to get a lot of Anthony Davis matchups, and I think he puts him to the line a decent amount. So I don't mind Anthony Davis getting to the foul line, and obviously, to that point, making a decent amount of foul shots as he's an 80% shooter this season. So I like Anthony Davis in that spot. And guys, it's going to wrap up for today's video. If you made it this far, and I doubt anyone has, go ahead and comment 34 because we made it this far into the video. Long video today, long slate, but that's the grind of this, right? And I love doing it, love talking NBA basketball. So appreciate all you guys tuning in. And again, if you haven't subscribed, hit that subscribe button, like the video, and comment 34, letting me know that you made it this far. But I'll catch you guys in the next one, all right? Peace out.